I, female 26, live in a block of newly built apartments. Everyone moved in a year ago, so we're all getting familiar with our neighbours. There are quite a few families on my landing, and we have a shared courtyard where the kids play in the summer, so we can chat while the kids are playing. We've done favours for each other, like loan formula milk and normal kid stuff. To be honest, it's mainly me giving it out, but I try not to get too friendly. I have 2 kids, a toddler and a baby. I'm currently solo parenting as my husband went away for a few days to spend time with his family and friends. There's a mums group chat of the mums in the building who swap kids around and babysit each other's kids for a few hours, and they rotate. I'm just a silent watcher, to be honest, and don't participate. It's not something I'm comfortable with, and my kids can't even communicate properly. Last night around 3 a.m. I got a knock on the door. My kids and I were fast asleep. I tried to ignore it as 1. I'm home alone, 2. I wasn't expecting company, and 3. It's 3 a.m. Anyway, after they wouldn't stop and my kids started to wake up, I looked through the peephole and noticed it was my neighbour. I opened the door and it was her boyfriend and 2 kids. She's 9 months pregnant and clearly in labour. They've got their hospital bags. They asked me if I could take the kids until her sister got here in an hour. I said I'm sorry, but no. I don't want to be liable if anything was to happen to her kids under my care, and I don't want to risk waking mine up. I feel like this is something you need to plan ahead and not start knocking on doors, hoping someone takes your kids in. I've already got my hands full with my 2. There's no way I could have another 2 running around my house at 3 in the morning. They are one very young toddler and a preschooler, and I know they aren't just going to sit and watch TV quietly. They called me evil and rude, and the boyfriend got on to me asking what kind of mother watches another struggle. I feel like if my husband was around, he wouldn't speak to me like that. Am I the idiot? They should have planned ahead with people in that mom group familiar with their kids. You are not the idiot. You weren't obligated to take them. You don't have a relationship beyond acquaintances and never participated in the babysitting swap. It's just unreasonable to assume someone you don't know especially well and do not have a history of doing favours for would be up for a 3 a.m. wake-up call to come work for free for them. Exactly, with the whole mom group, why not bang on their doors till one of them answers? Let's bother the one mum who doesn't play kid swap at 3 a.m. Also, the neighbour had a boyfriend right there. He can take the kids for an hour and then join her. How would that not be the first choice? I'd much rather give birth alone, unlikely though in 1 hour, than leave my child with a virtual stranger. Maybe she needed her partner to drive her to the hospital. Maybe she couldn't lift a hospital bag. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she was in pain. You are the idiot, OP. She was in labour. It was an emergency. Her sister would be there in 1 hour. You couldn't keep someone's kids alive and unharmed, probably while they slept on your couch for 1 8. It seems like there are a lot of entitled people here, or parents who think it's normal to just relentlessly knock on a virtual stranger's door to dump their kids on them at 3 a.m. I think people forget how a young toddler acts. They're usually very attached to their carer, and I'm sure watching his parents leave him with me, a stranger, would have left him inconsolable. Waking up my 2 kids and having all 4 awake at 3 a.m. sounds nightmarish. Also, I just spoke to the neighbour who took them in, and she told me the sister didn't arrive until 8 a.m. Also, the kids were awake the entire time and woke up her kids and trashed her house. I, 23 female, had my son a few months ago. My mom and my husband's mom are opposites in every way, especially in child rearing. They hate each other. Both parenting methods are fine, but just from viewing their kids, I will follow my mom's method to the issue. I do not bed share with my son directly, but his crib mattress is on the floor and I have a single mattress about a foot away. I can reach him and he sleeps through now. If you put him in his crib, he will scream until he vomits. If I manage to get him to sleep, he will only stay asleep for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. My mother-in-law hates it. My husband agreed when he realised it made him sleep through, although he wasn't a fan at first. I don't have an issue with our current arrangement. He will move my mattress whenever he's ready and we will adapt from there. Every time we see my mother-in-law, she tells us we need to sleep train. I often tell my husband to deal with her, but she won't listen to a damn thing he says. Yesterday I lost it with her. She came over to see him and I went to put him in his sling for a nap. She gave a disapproving sigh and asked if she could put him down in his crib. I agreed. She's constantly telling us that he'll go to sleep in there with just a little work. I know he won't, but I let her see for herself. She went and put him in his crib and he started screaming. I ran to get him, but she held his door closed so that I couldn't get in. She told me he needed to cry for a little bit, but then he would go to sleep. I managed to pry her off the door and grab him. I fed him to calm him down, which started a whole other spiel from her. In the end, I turned around and told her that she doesn't get to screw my kid up too. She was a little shocked, so I continued and said that she screwed up all her kids, and she was and is a crappy mom. She needs to leave my kid alone and stop trying to give me parenting advice that I won't follow. She started crying and my husband stepped in and asked her to leave. He then told me I was overstepping and should have let him deal with it. She was only trying to help, etc. I responded by telling him that he never does enough, and if he's going to try and defend her, he can leave too. He didn't leave straight away, but did go at some point in the next hour. I left for the bedroom so the baby could sleep and I could call my mom. She came over with my sister and we had a good evening. They insisted I was well within my rights as his mom to say what I said. However, I am aware that they hate my mother-in-law and may not be the most nuanced. My husband told our friends, who are pretty evenly split, but I know this also plays into their personal parenting opinions. I'm at a loss with the whole situation. Am I the idiot? What the heck? The moment she tried to keep you away from your screaming baby by literally holding the doors closed, I would have kicked her out of the house. It is your child and you know it best. Yes, she can give advice, but never forcefully hold a parent away from their child. OP, don't bother with the rest of the family and friends. Your side is one sentence. She held the door so I couldn't reach my crying son. You are not the idiot. Exactly, she would have been out on the curb 10 seconds after this if she'd done that to me. Tell everyone to wind their necks in. You don't stick your oar into their parenting, so they don't get to do it to you. Did your husband tell them about your mother forcibly blocking the door while your baby cried when he whinged to everyone? I'd wager not. Ask your husband why he's happy to go spouting off about parenting to everyone except his wife. I'm a 55-year-old male. Last week, my son James, 28, married his partner, Zara, 28, female. They were together for around 9 years before they got married and met in university. Zara is from overseas. She's South Asian, though she's been here for around 9 or 10 years. She's been a member of our family for all that time and we love her, especially as her own parents are abroad. Our family is white. My sister Beth and her husband Tom have always been nice enough to Zara and James, but last year they found out Zara wasn't British Asian, she was a foreign national. It's an understandable misconception, as Zara sounds British plus South Asians are a large diaspora here. They started making quips about visa marriages and 90-day fiancés, which I gather is a US TV program. Not in my presence, but J and Z ignored them. However, after the wedding last week, we had a family dinner where Beth and Tom again brought up visa marriage, made a Meghan Markle joke, and then said they would only let their daughter marry a foreigner after he got British citizenship. Z and J looked shell-shocked as they didn't expect this to be brought up at their wedding event. I immediately uninvited them from the reception there and then. My wife and I are paying for the reception as Z's parents paid for the wedding, and both Z and J were happy at the uninvite. Beth and Tom are now playing the victim, saying they only had Jay's best interests at heart because they've seen the horror visa marriages can do to citizens being taken advantage of on TV. I said meaning well means nothing, and now they're telling our other family that we're bullying them. Some took their side, saying they were only trying to help and I should re-invite them. I'm refusing as their reasoning is BS. First, because the US visa marriage TV programs don't apply to the UK, it's much harder to get a spouse visa here. A 90-day fiancé isn't a concern because you just can't get citizen after a couple of months of marriage. It's never been the case. From what James said, Zara spent around $25,000 across the year for visa renewals, her own money. It's not as simple as getting married. Secondly, James will be the first to say Zara is far more qualified than him. She has wealthy parents, a doctorate, and earns $50,000. She doesn't need our son's sponsorship and would easily qualify for citizenship in her own right in a couple of years. Beth and Tom, in response, now say they didn't know the visa processes were different, but in my opinion, then why insult her at her damn wedding? Just a lot of comments coming our way now saying we should forgive them for trying to help. My wife and I refused, and J and Z are happy with my refusal, but people are now making comments about it being a reasonable concern, when it objectively has never been a concern. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If you want to run around the farm making nasty comments like a bigoted little gnome, you don't get invited to the harvest. Also, your sister and her husband share a single brain cell. The idea of these upstanding British patriots who claim to love their country and its citizens, but in reality are stupid enough about said motherland to assume American television show rules apply here, is cracking me up. Best interest is not shown with lame jokes, but with a heart-to-heart with James and or you to ask some questions and voice some concerns. Once, and then acceptance. As long as J and Z agree with your actions, you're good. Oh no, no. The consequences of their actions. Idiots don't get to attend nice events. I recently got 3 foster kids. Diana, a young female teen, Michael, male tween, and Emily, a female preschooler. They're all siblings who are going to be separated, so I got them to avoid that, and I'm planning to adopt them because they're wonderful kids I love very much. Anyway, the issue is with Emily. Emily is a very picky eater, and if her food isn't made in a specific way, she will not eat it. For example, her bread needs to be cut very specifically. I've tried to cut it the way she wants, but she never eats what I make because she says I'm doing it wrong. She will eat what Diana makes though, even though I can swear Diana's bread and mine look exactly the same. We've tried tricking her, me cutting the bread and pretending Diana cut it, but she can't be fooled. This is just one example. She is picky with so many more things. Yesterday I had my friends over for dinner. I called Diana and asked if she could please help me prepare Emily's food because Emily knows her best. She agreed and started helping me. My friend asked me if Diana is always responsible for feeding Emily. I told her that yes, Diana helps me with this a lot. She then called me an idiot and accused me of parentifying Diana, saying it's my job to feed my kid, not her job. Am I really the idiot? Not the idiot. I detest when phrases like this become buzzwords online. They diminish the potency of the actual act while making it so much easier for folks to roll their eyes and dismiss it when they hear it. Your friend needs to get offline and go touch grass. Asking your foster daughter to help you with her little sister's specific food needs is not parentifying, especially since it seems, from the info we have here, Diana is willing to help. Parentifying her would be you sitting back and having a glass of wine with your friend while Diana feeds, bathes, dresses, cooks dinner, cleans up after dinner, gets her siblings to and from school, and is essentially their primary caregiver in your place. So much this. I do think it can be expected of a young teen to help out with some family duties. My 13-year-old occasionally makes his siblings sandwiches, etc. That doesn't mean he's parentified. It just means he helps out now and then. Children have chores. Some of these might mean helping out with younger siblings. I have been with my ex, Alex, for 3 years, which has always been difficult. I've always been bi and thought that I liked males and females for almost all my life until 2 years ago. My parents always accepted my diversity and gave me the maximum support from the beginning. When I met Alex, I told him about my orientation and he was fine. For 2 years, our relationship was great. We had many things in common, many interests and hobbies, and we went to the same gym. Alex was one of those super romantic guys who always made me feel special and unique, and I loved him for that. But then something in me changed in the last year of our relationship. After 6 months, I understood that I was attracted to women and not to guys, but I've always feared Alex's reaction to this and my parents too. So, for 6 months, I tried to avoid intimacy with Alex using some excuses, but decided to tell my parents, and they accepted it. But then they asked me if I told Alex this too, and I told them no. So, following their advice after a week, I finally took the courage to tell him. So, after work, he was supposed to come to my house to have a talk, and for 2 hours before his arrival, I was rehearsing the best speech to make to say this nicely that I could, but things went in the complete opposite way. When he arrived, the worst happened. I told him that the lack of intimacy was because I finally understood that I was a lesbian and not bi. He was in shock and didn't say anything for an hour while I was talking and became pale. After I finished, he asked me, "Is there a woman you like and hang out with yet?" I replied honestly and told him that there was a girl in our gym that I felt attracted to, but hadn't talked with her yet. His response left me shocked. "Of course you didn't, and I'm stupid, right?" And then he left. After 1 hour of crying, I tried to text him, but he blocked my number and any account on my social. He cut me out completely in 1 hour, leaving me in shock and disbelief. Some months later, I met our mutual friends, and when I asked them if they knew something about Alex, they told me that he'd never replied to any of their texts and calls for months and stopped hanging out with them. Finally, I saw him at our gym and I was dating the girl that I liked. When I tried to get near him to have a talk, he completely ignored me like I was invisible and continued to work out. So we came to a week ago when I met him again, but this time he was extremely changed. He was like another person. He was extremely jacked and fit with a long beard, but again ignored me, so I decided to have a serious talk with him. I cornered him at the gym and decided to have a serious talk, but he didn't even listen to me while I was talking and was marching around until he said, "Listen, do me a favor and don't talk to me again. I stopped dating after you because you broke something in me, and I can't and will never stop blaming you for this because it's all your fault. I can't trust women anymore because I always fear the delusion that they will hurt me again like you did." And then he walked away. I cried a lot that day because I couldn't understand how it was my fault. I mean, it was already difficult for me to accept myself. 1 year after our breakup, he unblocked me on social media, and watching his transformation was something unbelievable. His IG account was all about love, compassion, sweetness, dog pics and all these nice things, but now it's just about not trusting anyone, against everything, and always sad and depressed photos. So it's my fault for breaking him? Should I feel this way? You are the idiot for continuing to pursue conversations with him and cornering him instead of letting him have the space he needs and respecting his boundaries. What did you expect? Would he want to stay best friends with you after you hurt him? It's painful to hear, "I don't love you anymore" from your partner of many years, no matter what the reason is. Let him go and stop obsessing over whether or not you're the villain in his life. What is your problem? You broke up with him, regardless of the reason, which I find to be only a minor point, and he just blocked you and moved on with his life, and you're shocked? For the love of God, leave the guy alone. You broke his heart, you broke his spirit, you broke his trust. Can you understand that? She needs validation from the poor guy. He made peace with it and tried to live his life, but the OP wants to be, I don't know, center of attention? This whole story is nothing but me, me, me. Of course you cried. Leave him alone. You've already hurt him enough.